Hey everybody, it's your pal hiccup. Drew Geraci, take two. 30-year comic book industry veteran, novelist, fanboy to the core, and finder of lost loves. So I'm going to tackle Atlas. There's a lot going on. I'm going to abridge the beginning because so many other YouTube channels have handled it really well, and I think I know everything about it pretty much, but I probably would find a lot of new stuff I didn't know. There's a book, a magazine called Comic Book Artist that came out in, 20 plus years ago, that covered, one super thick issue covered Atlas Comics, otherwise known as Vengeance Inc. The reason? Well, Vengeance Inc., not officially, that was the nickname. Martin Goodman was publishing Marvel Comics from the late 30s all the way up to the very late 60s, and he went to semi-retirement and passed the mantle on to Stan. And Stan, he took the baton and ran with it. And Chip Goodman, the son of Martin Goodman, was incensed. He was horrified. He thought he was entitled just by blood. And sometime later, several years later, I guess, the father and son mended fences. And if this looks like the top of a Marvel comic, then know this. It was 100% deliberate. They wanted to kind of draw out Marvel's readers into their, pseudo Marvel. And to their credit, though, they had a lot of good talent. They had a big variety of stuff. I mean, they have war comics, they have monster comics, they have police comics, they have superhero comics, and barbarian comics. The thing is, they flooded the market right away. But the other thing is, I'm not sure. I get the impression that a lot of distributors didn't want to bother with this. They were flooded with Marvel and DC, just a ton of stuff, and then Richie Rich and all these others. And laugh if you want, but Richie Rich had like a ton of titles, and Little Devil and all these other characters. So they may have seen this and not even bothered with it. Because here's the thing, I don't know. I've never seen any of these Atlas comics on the stands, and I was constantly scanning the stands for that for new comics. I never saw one, and others I've talked to said the same thing. So maybe the distributor just decided there's too much going on, or maybe it was an underhanded thing brought on by one of the other publishers. I don't care, but all that matters now is we've got a nice big stack of comics with top talents and talents that were just aborning. I love that phrase. My wife hates that. I read it in a Galactus comic book sometime, aborning. Only because I say it every 2 minutes with her. So, Blazing Battle Tales, Atlas Comics. I'm doing these in alphabetical order. Some of the comics are real exciting, and then some are dry as toast. Like this, that's pretty cool and all. It's a nice cover. Oh, who did it? I can't read it. Anyway, Blazing Battle Tales. Some nice stuff there. Oh, Pat Broderick, a very young Pat Broderick. Inks by Jack Sparling, who had been in the industry already quite a while. And right off the bat, Pat knew how to tell a story, and that's like a major hurdle for any newbie. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because then we'll be here 12 hours. If my computer craps out on me or my camera, I'll continue this with a part 2. Excuse me. And then this is Atlas's answer to the Hulk. They did the Brute, who's this prehistoric monster who is purple people eater. Really good art. Michael Fleischer. I've covered him before with Jonah Hex. Oops, he did the Spectre. Sorry about that. And Ghost Rider, and all kinds of characters that were vengeance oriented. Mike Sikowski from DC Comics, Justice League, Pablo Marcos, and Jeff Rovin, who wrote this. he was on the front lines with this book. He was basically given all the color titles, and Chip was just a mess. He didn't understand comics. He just didn't understand how it worked. I mean, he tried to impose his opinions and theories on it, but they weren't informed. So, love that cover. Hey, look how nice the shape these are in. Wow, like 20 plus years ago, I went to a Wizard convention in Houston, and some dealer, I can't remember his name off the top. I think it was Bedrock Comics. He had all these books for $3 each, and so I scooped up as many as I could. Okay, whoa. Okay, Mike Sikowski again. Wow, because a lot of these books don't have the same creative team here and there. So Sikowski is like he's what do you call that? He's an acquired taste. Now I think he's doing some of his best stuff here. When he did Justice League early on, it was really weird. He drew everybody squat and wide, kind of like a dad who had steaks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So lovely covers. Caveman versus Cyborg. That sounds like a movie or video game. So this is now Alan Lee Weiss, inked by Jack Abel. I love Jack Abel. Gary Friedrich, a different writer. But they're all great. It's all great. In a way, this is sort of like the ultimate Bronze Age publisher, because they had trouble keeping steady teams on books, unless it was Fantastic Four or the Avengers. The Cougar. Who did this? All I know is I liked it. Okay. Oh, Dan Adkins and Frank Springer, written by Steve Mitchell, who is an inker. So Frank Springer inked it as well. Crazy stuff. It was like everybody on board. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but Martin and Chip Goodwin stole a ton of Marvel artists and writers. And Roy Thomas had said, who was editor-in-chief at the time while Stan was going around to college campuses spreading the faith, Roy said, hey, if you go over there, don't expect to come back in. But the fact of the matter is, they needed everybody and anybody to help do their comics. So that was kind of a quick, it was a quick turnaround, I guess is the way to put it. The Cougar, but he's just kind of dull. I mean, at least the Jaguar looked kind of cool. And Larry Lieber is editor, Gary Friedrich writer, Frank Springer artist. Sharon Iborn letter. Never heard of her before. I love that name though. So really neat stuff. And I'm not going to review all these books because I got a ton of them. So hang on a second. So Demon Hunter, creation of Rich Buckler. If he looks a little familiar and you're a fan of the Defenders from the 80s, the Atlas Comics lasted 4 months. They were only 4 months. No book exceeded the number 4, and many of them didn't go that far. If he looks familiar, he became Devil Slayer at Marvel. He basically took the character and just changed the colors. And Atlas was not in the... They weren't up to doing a lawsuit or anything. David Anthony Kraft. Richard P. Buckler, he also created, I can't believe it, Deathlock. So it's pretty neat, even though I sort of hate the character. At least I hated it when it was in Marvel, because it's kind of, it's just not that interesting. Here, a lot of people have been waiting on this. Destructor, Born of Fury, Sword of Vengeance, Sworn to Vengeance. He is the Destructor. That is an excellent logo. And that is Larry Lieber, inked by Wally Wood. Love it. And it lasted 4 issues, and Archie Goodwin wrote it. There you go. Ditko Wood, edited by Larry Lieber. Sorry about that. My throat's ticklish. Beautiful stuff. I mean, Wally Wood could make anybody look, much like Kevin Nolan decades later. When they would ink somebody, it would become like Wally Wood. It would become Wally Wood art. And Kevin Nolan, if he inked anybody, they would become Kevin Nolan. And there's not a lot of room for that kind of stuff. Not a lot of people, pencilers, that are keen on that sort of stuff. Larry Lieber is trying to do the Marvel thing, and he's also trying to do a little bit of Rich Buckler, a little Kirby with some of the muscles and stuff like that. So this lasted 4 issues. I'm not going to go over everyone. And I can't remember if in this video I mentioned that I never saw an issue of Atlas Comics on the stands ever. And I was checking out all the stands for all kinds of comics. And it wasn't a shortage of comics. There was a ton of Marvel, a ton of DC. Let me think what else. Oh, Archie comics. They were huge. It was Archie and then Richie Rich. The Harvey guys and the Archie guys. They also had plenty of comics coming out. So I don't know why I haven't ever seen an Atlas comic on the stand. My friends and family, anybody who's into comics, they've never seen it. I think it was either it was a dirty trick where like maybe Marvel or DC were going to extort them out of existence, or maybe I can't figure it out exactly why. You just never saw it. You just never saw it in stands. I learned of Atlas Comics like a lot of people because in the mid-70s, there was a lot of chicanery going on. There was a lot of, we'll say illegal Ernie Colon art. A lot of people would bring back either tear sheets or the entire cover to the publisher as comics not sold, and they would get reimbursed for them. However, they held on to these coverless comics or the ones with the slit across top, bagged them in sets of 3, and sold them for 30 cents, whereas the average comic at the time was 23 cents. So, and it was usually like a Marvel or a DC, and then either a Charlton or this kind of stuff. And this kind of blew us away. We're like, where did this come from? We've never seen them out. So I think they shut their doors before they, I don't know, I'm not saying this adequately, but I think you know what I'm saying. Ernie Colon, yeah. Michael Fleischer did a lot of work. That's a really weird pose. I love Ernie Colon, but it's like almost everyone's saying, oh, get out of the way. I want to get in the picture. Oh, look out, move. So, exceptional stuff. I love this cover. Yeah. Also, at the time, Ernie Colon, or Colon, however you say his name, he was drawing Richie Rich. He's that versatile that he could do straight serious comics, and he could do, kids' books. Oh, these ads are so great back then. Star Trek model kits, and he also sold like bootleg copies of Planet of the Apes, some of the other books. Brimstone. There was only one of these, The Hands of the Dragon, although it should be called Feet of the Dragon. And that, who did this? Who did this? Oh, Jim Craig. Okay, he would go on to do What If with Roy Thomas, and he did 3D Man, which was pretty cool. I've never heard of Ed Federoy. It's a Shang-Chi thing, but with a mask. And he doesn't, I don't think he talks, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's of him talking to himself in blurbs. The narrator is doing it. So it's kind of cool. Whoop. I keep bonking this camera. And then Iron Jaw. A barbarian with an iron jaw. And I don't recall if they ever... Okay, there we go. Gary Friedrich, Pablo Marcos, who did a ton of black and white magazines for Marvel. They had a lot of them back then. And really, really good stuff. I don't think they showed the origin of Iron Jaw. It just looks so weird. It's not just like a two pieces for the top and the bottom. It'll clank and man, look at those muscles on that. That's so cool. And then Andrax. You remember Andrax? I don't know who that is. Andrax. Oh, it's copyright Rolf Khalid or whatever. But I know when I get a migraine coming on, I grab me some Andrax. Here we go. Planet of the Apes home movies. Film monster home movies. Now, I suspect they're highly illegal. And for the people who did have a little film projector at home, it was great. Because I'd seen one or two of them. I had a friend whose parents bought one of those. Iron Jaw. Neil Adams cover, baby. How about that? It suggests excitement inside. And it's okay. I dig it. I'm barely making a dent in these. I gotta move. Iron Jaw. I have a friend of mine on Facebook who actually gave me a couple issues of Iron Jaw that I was missing. And I apologize for not thinking of the name right now. I'm just trying not to. Look at that. Oofa. All those ribs. Alan Kupperberg is lettering. As I've said many times before, future comic book artists start off lettering or coloring. Iron Jaw, the origin. Okay, so they do tell you about it. But I don't want to spoil it. Okay, now we get Morlock. That's a cool. Al Milgrom, Dick Giordano. I don't know if they've ever teamed on something like that before, but here it's Jack Abel inking Al Milgrom. Michael Fleischer again. And Jack Abel's so good. And he was also doing Marvel stuff too. So I just think by the time these 4 comics came out, only it had been closed down. It had been shut down. So that's why there was no real animosity at the end of all this with Roy Thomas and the people who would be poached by Atlas Comics. So love this guy's hair. It reminds me, there's a guy who is the head of the Nova Corps in the comic book Nova who had hair like that. And Glenn Close didn't have that hair, but that's okay. She had rocking hair. That was cool. This is Larry Lieber cover, probably, because he really loved to do the folds and a lot of images based on, Kirby kind of language. Jeff Rovin is the other, but that's spooky. So Morlock started off, he's a superhero who transforms into this ugly monster. So it's even further than the Hulk, because, Puny Banner turns into a big bad Hulk. But this guy's a superhero, and you don't want to get him pissed. So, here's another thing. Chip Goodman did a lot of this. Jeff Rovin's coverage of this spot. After an issue or two, before it even theoretically would have hit the stands, Chip would be like, oh, we got to change this. So Morlock, 2 issues, goes right into Morlock 2000, The Midnight Men. And check this baby out. It is, Gary Frederick, Steve Ditko, and Bernie Wrightson inking them. Love it. See, July 1975. What a combination. And it's really great. It's really, really great. I have to tell you. They're like top artists of their respective eras. And good stuff. Now, I'm going in alphabetical order, really, because that's the only way I could figure out. Okay, the Phoenix, who, let me move these. Before I knock them all down. If I knock them all down, I'll cry. Phoenix. It's sort of one of those end of the world type science fiction stories that have a superhero. And Phoenix came out a little before Marvel's Phoenix. I think so. Sal Amendola is an amazing artist. He spent a lot of time teaching art at different schools, not necessarily like Hubert School. Maybe he did, but he was just an all-around great artist. And he has such a different nuance to figures. I just love his stuff. It's just very different, too, from a lot of stuff going on. Okay, I like this cover a lot. That's pretty cool. All new, no reprint. Marvel started putting that blurb everywhere on their comics because they had so many fill-in issues that were simply reprints, or the book would be half done and the second half would be a reprint. So this is just great. And it reads really well. It's one of the better written comics. So it's like Sal has a little bit of a Neil Adams thing, but not really. Not really. Okay. That's my beeper reminding me to go to the next comic. That's a great cover, too. And it is by, Sal Mandola. The stories are great here. And then Chip decided, we better make him more superheroic. So the same series, they call him Phoenix, and then the Protector, the most exciting superhero of them all, not at all derivative of others. Rick Estrada, inked by Frank Giacoia. And that's a nice combination, too. I think Rick Estrada, he was more associated with DC Comics. But pretty cool. So now he's got a uniform. And lifts on a cliffhanger like most of these do. No, just ends like that. How Marvel is that? Planet of Vampires. Here we go. Broderick and Adams. Yep, Neil Adams inked Pat Broderick on this sci-fi thing. And inside Broderick, New Kid on the Block again. Inked by Frank McLaughlin, which I really, really dig. I've always gone on about Frank McLaughlin, how much I've loved his stuff. So, Planet of Vampires. Now this is either Neil Adams or Dick Giordano. I mean, it's so, the rendering on him, on her, the vampires. And this is another Pat Broderick place, I think. I apologize if I'm going too fast for you, but I can't. Okay, Joe Albano, Pat Broderick, Frank McLaughlin. Really cool stuff. Great art. Really great art. Planet of Vampires. That's a very Gil Kane pose, but I know it's not Gil Kane. I don't know who did it, actually. It's a little stiff. Oh, Russ Heath. Oh, my apologies. Russ Heath, okay. Well, that explains it, because Russ is not a superhero artist. He's done explosions. I love that. Russ Heath does the interiors, pencils and inks. I forgot he did that. Shush Pup. Excellent. Now we're going to Lomax and Luke Ballone. I guess when they named this, somebody had peanut butter in their mouth and went, Lomax, Luke Ballone. Very, very Larry Lieber has that real harsh but good black spotting. That's a very Giacoia thing. I'm wondering if he did some of that. He did do the previous book I showed you, so why not? Mike Sikowski, inked by Al McWilliams, and it is a great combo. I mentioned in a previous episode that Al McWilliams was one of those guys who he turned Al Milgram's Captain Marvel into a real thing of beauty. I mean, the storytelling was great and all, but he just mashed up. I forgot about this. This is split in two here. There's two stories. Because you got Lomax and you got Luke Malone. There's Luke Malone with his cigarette. Mike Plug, MFers. How about that? Frank Springer. Not a bad idea. But, you still see a lot of Plug come through, but it's a little, I don't know, sobered up. It's just kind of, never finished high school. God, I hated that. You read comics in public, be shamed. Here's another one. It's, I think Larry Lieber did a lot of these covers. I mean, he was editor-in-chief, but he's one of those generic action guys who gets yelled at by the police chief, you're out of control. Lomax, what? Well, for God's sake, stop him. He can't take this into his own hands. It's like, what a cliche. So there you go, back to Plug. Third and final issue, Police Action. Like I said, he's in pretty good shape. I actually did that. I just said nothing a second ago. And the writing is strong. And it's like, how exciting can you make a police comic unless they're like Judge Dredd or something totally out of the way where it's like every 2 pages there's violence. You could turn on the TV and see a cop show. So it wasn't. But they tried. Mike Plug and Frank Springer again. Okay, gotta move this stuff over. Goodness me. Boop. By the way, a little while ago, let me just open this up. 3, 4, 5 years ago, can't remember when, Atlas was trying to make a comeback. They had a press release that said that, they're coming out with the new, reviving the characters, and they're going to be gritty. And they brought back like the Gray Ghost, and he looked like something from Image. And they both looked all embarrassingly attempting to be mature comics. Okay, hang on, everybody. Diet Coke. Okay. They need to get like Les Grossman to do promotions for Diet Coke. Now, I'm not really into war titles, but this is pretty cool. And you know what? I enjoyed it more because it only didn't last that long. Writer Archie Goodwin. Don't know who did the art, but it's really good. Maybe it's Al McWilliams again. Does it even say at the end? Nope. And it's Sergeant Striker's Death Squad. You got to grit your teeth when you're saying that. Larry Lieber doing his best Kirby. Silver Age Kirby. And probably inked. Well, Larry Lieber was a great inker too. He could have been inking himself, but and he picked up that Frank Giacoya vibe. Al McWilliams, baby. Archie Goodwin. I don't remember if Archie Goodwin was writing for Marvel at the time. I think he might have still been doing. I can't think of that name. Give me a second, please. Hang in there. You can just soak in this great art. Not Western. It's something else. Anyway, he was doing comics for. I love the lettering too. It's got a nice Alex Toth feel to it. Gotta go back and see this. Yeah, it has a. There's some areas. Hang on a second, everybody. Okay. I don't want to shortchange anybody. Editor. Where is the artist? Oh, created and written by Archie Goodwin. Okay. Where is the... It looks a lot like Alex Toth to me. Especially the hand lettering. So, sorry if I let you down. Sergeant Striker. That's a great Marvel pose. Mission, kill Rommel. Not a problem. For Sergeant Striker's Death Squad. Oh, more Goodman and Al McWilliams. if you could think of the publisher that Archie Goodwin worked for in the early to mid 70s, you could post it below, because I'm racking my brain here, and I'm just moving on. Early Howard Chaykin, spectacular early Howard Chaykin. About 2 years prior to this, he did a half an issue of Killraven for Marvel, and it wasn't that great. But he was getting his feet wet, and he could do a story well, but really quickly he had an incredible learning curve to where he had his own style going on early on, and it wasn't even like a Marvel style. If it looks like Dominic Fortune, that's because that's deliberate too. Atlas went under, and I think everybody could have taken, the books they worked on to Marvel or DC. Man, that's so good. I love Chaykin. Good stuff, good stuff. So anyway, he created, with the same exact outfit, created Dominic Fortune. That's a weird coloring on that page. How about that? That is a very, very Chaykin mid-panel there. He had so much. This stuff has so much style in it. And I really wish Marvel would do an omnibus of Dominic Fortune, because there's so many like one-shots, and then the color inserts on color pages on the Hulk magazine from the late 70s. So right away, Chip panics and says, superhero! Okay. Here goes. The Golden Fuhrer. That's so silly. But the insides is Jim Craig, who also, as I mentioned before, he would go on to do a lot of Marvel stuff. He'd do some fill-ins here and there. And actually, I almost prefer this to his later stuff, because his later stuff was real cramped and real, like everybody was kind of squat and angsty looking, and this is more like an adventure comic. Whoa. What in blue blazes? That's crazy. And then there was Son of Dracula. Oh, that's a nice cover too. It's